Welcome everyone to Growing Your Garden, a Juneteenth celebration. I'm your host, Samantha Miller. Welcome again. And I am the Energy and Climate Change Outreach Support Staff at Faith in Place. Faith in Place empowers Illinois people of all faiths to be leaders in caring for the earth, providing resources to educate, connect, and advocate for healthier communities. In today's presentation, we'll be celebrating Juneteenth, taking a walk in Windsor Park Garden, taking another walk in the Trinity UCC Garden. We'll connect you to ways to get involved with the gardens, and also there'll be a question and answer section with the gardeners. So let's celebrate our local Black farmers and see what they're doing. But before that, here's a quote from Reverend Dr. Otis Moss III, pastor of Trinity UCC. Africa, South America, and Asia have been utilized as a garden by European colonialism for over a century. Eco justice is a way for everyone on the planet to recognize our common connection to the earth and our common connection to each other. And I would like to introduce you to one of today's special guests, Alvyn Walker, property team leader and member of Windsor Park Lutheran Church in South Shore. Alvyn?
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Samantha, for the introduction, and thank you, everyone, for your attendance. Uh, Again, as Samantha said, I'm Alvyn Walker, and as property team leader at Windsor Park, my responsibility is dual. Not only do I take care of the property, the building, but I also take care of another property, which is a half-acre lot that's across the street, northeast of where the church is located at the corner of 76 and Saginaw. So the garden space is just northeast of where the church is located at 2619 East 76th Street. And as you can see on the map, our garden is pretty close to a lot of commercial activity. At 75th Street, we have a train station. The Metro train stops over there. And we also have several bus lines that make it easily accessible to get to our garden by public transportation. So a little history about the garden. We have been actively working the space as a community garden for 9 consecutive seasons, 8 years. We first started this iteration of the garden in partnership with Leave No Veteran Behind. They were contracted by the city of Chicago to help with the One Summer Chicago Youth program. During that particular partnership, we were able to host in our first year 60 youth from about half a dozen different high schools, and they were actually very instrumental in starting the garden. So we had a partnership with a work group from Leave No Veteran Behind and also from Guggenheim Partners. And we were able to break ground for the garden in the summer of 2013. Well, we also were able to teach youth about how to live sustainably using means of transporting themselves that were other than car. So we taught them about biking. We taught them about how to grow their own food. We taught them about how to plant trees and how to interact in the natural space. And we had a lot of help from the folks at Chicago Center for Green Technology and also Chicago Department of Transportation. The particular program was run out of the Department of Family Support Services. And so that particular garden design and activity basically evolved into what we have today, which is a full-fledged community garden that serves as a place for intergenerational activities. On the left picture that you see there is our group of gardeners that are from the community. They are mostly retired folks, and they've been gardening with us continuously now for a couple of seasons. And the picture to the right are our youth cohort. They have been gardening with us continuously for 3 seasons. And currently what you see there are the boxes that they built themselves a couple of years ago and still continue to garden out of it, growing different types of vegetables and herbs. And a favorite of theirs is growing strawberries, ground strawberries, basically the strawberries that are not brush, but are vines. And so that's one of the fun things they like to grow. And we are about to actually start another cohort this week. And we will have youth that range in age from 14 to 19. And we're able to host a cohort of 10 youth. So we're looking forward to doing that. We also serve as a space for working youth that want to spend a particular day in the garden. So one of the opportunities we had this past weekend was to host a group of youth from our sister church, St. Mark's Lutheran Church. They were able to bring in some youth and they planted vegetables and also they planted some greens and some herbs. So we currently are able to serve in that capacity, but we also have another feature in the garden where we are host to a lot of wildlife. We have various varieties of birds and about a half a dozen different native bees. And this year we were able to introduce, through our joint partnership with Leave No Veteran Behind, a beehive. So we currently are able to start the process of gathering our honey. And hopefully by the end of this season, or maybe by springtime, we'll be able to start production of honey. So we're looking forward to that process. And we have a volunteer cohort of different groups. One of our groups is Advocates for Urban Agriculture. We also have groups that come from our other connecting organizations. Leave No Veteran Behind does activities with us. The Mission Continues, which is another veterans service organization, does gardening days with us. We also have the Chicago Sustainability Leaders Network that work in our garden. And we've had visits from other sustainability groups that come out and do work days. We also have volunteer work days if you just are a one-off person that wants to come in and volunteer your time. On Saturdays between 9 and 4, we also will open our garden to a weekday volunteer opportunity on Wednesdays from 9 till 2. So if you're feeling inclined to come help us do some harvesting like maybe Advocate for Urban Agriculture did a couple of years ago, or you just want to come out and hang out with us and help us clean and plant or weed or water, please feel free to reach out to us on Facebook or by email. You can come out and help us to continue to expand and grow our access that we have to fresh and natural produce grown in the Windsor Park Garden. And or if you just want to volunteer with different tools or equipment, we also will accept tools and equipment. And please let me know by Facebook, or you can connect with me by email also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Al, for sharing. And we will send more information through emails to everyone who's joined about both gardens. So, our next special guest today is Paula Anglin, Master Garden at Trinity United Church of Christ's George Washington Carver Garden, and garden consultant at Van Voorhees Memorial Garden and Envision Unlimited. Sorry for that. Next slide. But first, let us take a virtual walk through the Van Voorhees Memorial Garden.
Hi, I'm Princess Harris, the Sustainable Food and Land Use Coordinator at Faith in Place. And today I am at Van Voorhees Garden with Paula, the Master Garden, on 85th and Vincennes.
This is the Garden of Envisions Unlimited, which is a facility who cares for special adults. The garden is an activity, a place, and for me, a garden is a place to relax and unwind. And if people knew, they'd all be gardening. Van Voorhees is the brother of a woman who sponsors the garden activities. It's actually a memorial garden. It's in his behalf, which is why we have roses. That's his favorite flowers. Okay, we planted roses all around. Okay, so the roses, attract the pollinators and some of the other perennial flowers. This is a dwarf cherry tree. Mm-hmm. Over here are raspberry bramble. In here are strawberries. They're June berries, so you might be able to see some red ones. So we planted this in the fall. These are, they're all around. This is garlic. 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 So the clove grows under the ground. If I pass a shovel, I'll let you see them. Okay.
This is the skate. It got some heat to it. It's good though. Nice and spicy. I want to ask a question about how important it is being I'm gonna call you a farmer.
I am an urban
farmer, and the youth seeing that, because I feel like that's a good step for them to see. They don't see who grows food or where it comes from, and I always felt like that was an issue. Like, 'cause I remember taking kids out and they would be like, "Oh, I don't want to eat that. I don't want to touch that." I said, "Well, you need to see where your food comes from." And I remember I took a kid out. He had a tomato. He said that was the best tomato he ever tried. So I really think it's good to highlight our urban farmers. Especially with Juneteenth coming up and everything like that. We need to get it out there that we do these things also.
Last summer, I guess it's his route, a gentleman who's driving down the street. And since there's a stop sign, they slow down. Mm-hmm. And every day he passed when I was here, mm-hmm. He'd say, "Hey, are the greens ready?" I thought, people want fresh food. People know what it is. They want fresh food. And so
I want to thank you, Paula. I know you're very busy, so I want to thank you for taking the time out and inviting Faith to Place here and filming this beautiful garden. And I want to say we also value your participation in our partnership and show how we are all connected. And hopefully we can keep moving with this movement, of getting green spaces throughout the city of Chicago and highlighting Black urban farmers. And so if you don't mind, I think I'm going to take a walk through this labyrinth and give me some meditation. Okay.
Okay, so that was a great video. Paula, are the greens ready? So, but okay, now we'll talk later, okay? We'll hear from Paula now.
Okay, not quite yet. Now that's a picture of the George Washington Carver Garden at Trinity United Church of Christ. That's our pastor and First Lady, Pastor Moss and Monica. And the garden there is actually part of their vision for the neighborhood of Washington Heights. It began in 2009. The farmers market, we have a farmers market, well, not be during the pandemic, but we did celebrate 10 years of a farmers market, and also that's in the garden. They all started at the same time. This is a photo of our last day at the market 1 year. Our farmers come from all around Chicagoland and Pembroke, and I miss it. So next year, hopefully we'll have it. This is a photograph from the Van Voorhees, our first season there. So I started there, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, and we had a bountiful harvest. The members, some of them knew about gardening, and they enjoy harvesting. They enjoy digging and planting, and it's a super nice space and nice experience. I want to say there's joy in the garden. There's joy in the garden, everyone. So that's one of the reasons that you find me gardening. So now also and this is the labyrinth in the Van Voorhees. When we first built it, the young kids from Leo High School came and helped us clear the space and lay the rocks and the mulch and so on. And well, it's just beautiful, and it's beautiful and relaxing. It's the first thing that we do when the members come to the garden. We take a stroll around the labyrinth for relaxation, for contemplation, for meditation. And so that photo is a very nice memory. So if anyone is interested in strolling around the labyrinth, most mornings, like from 9 to 10, it's kind of peaceful in the neighborhood, and the garden is open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you'd like to come out, we're on Vincennes, 86 and Vincennes, and you are welcome to walk the labyrinth and meditate or center yourself. We welcome you. This is another part of the back part of the labyrinth. It was just so beautiful one morning. After we built the labyrinth, we made a path, sort of a garden walk. And I just took a stroll one morning before the clients came. You could hear the birds singing, and it was really lovely. Since then, this portion, the labyrinth has grown. There are lots of flowers where the mulch was. The labyrinth has grown. But in this section here, upcoming, we actually have cleared the land, and we're starting a orchard. At the moment, it's banana. It's native to right near here. It's native to the Midwest, and you can eat it raw or you can cook with it. So we've got pawpaw trees, we've got some melons planted, some muskmelons and some watermelons. So also in the garden, we're growing herbs, perennial herbs, lemon balm, mint, oregano, lemon balm, mint, oregano. We've also got some cilantro out there, and we're starting some lavender. And so it's nice. But we harvest herbs, and we, the members and I, we stroll down the street to the firehouse and share the herbs with them, because the firemen cook. They cook, and they appreciate it. They appreciate it, and the members love going to the firehouse, and that's a nice exercise too. So let's see what else is out there. Oh, now this is from the George Washington Carver Garden. One summer, every time I turned my head, I saw monarch laying eggs. They lay the eggs under the leaf of the milkweed. And then every time I turned my head, I saw caterpillars. So I started bringing them into the shed. And this is a video of Marcus, the kids. We had a youth program that summer. A STEM program was around the city. And one of the young ladies came back and she just started taking the containers and naming them. I think that's Marcus. Anyway, they're just so beautiful. And they're off. No goodbye, no nice to meet you. So, oh, there they are. Anyway, there was at least a dozen of them that we raised. And interestingly, last year, I was in the shed and a monarch butterfly flew in, seemed to look around, and then flew out. And I thought, I wonder if that's one of my children. I wonder if that's one of the ones we raised. You can see the proximity of the garden, and that last shot is across the street from the church. Tomorrow, join us at the Carver Garden. We'll be there from 3 to 5, doing a little work, a little watering maybe, but a lot of weeding. And then every Saturday, we're there. The George Washington Carver Church Garden is across the street from Trinity United Church of Christ. And the address is 423 West 95th Street. There is parking out front and parking in the back. And of course, all the 95th Street buses stop there. And so we, in the Carver Garden, we grow a lot of perennial items. We have lemon balm, garlic chives, we've got oregano, we've got parsley, we have black raspberry, bramble, we have wild strawberries, we have Concord grapes, and in August we'll have Concord grapes, and they're delicious. So come find some peace in the garden. 10 minutes in nature lowers your blood pressure. And so feel free to come by and lend us a hand, or just come by and sit and have some quiet meditation time. We have an area for that in the garden as well. We'd love to have you.
Thank you, Paula, for sharing your garden and the monarch butterflies with us. And so now, if anyone has any questions, they can, for Al and Paula, please put them in the chat. Any questions? How did each of you start gardening? Paula or Al, anyone want to answer that question?
I actually started gardening in the 80s. I had an injury, actually. My grandmother had been gardening, and she and I wasn't into it at the time, but I had an injury and I needed to rest a little bit. And I just suddenly started working in her garden, and I just became addicted to it. The lady next door had the most beautiful yard, blooming now, always something new happening. And she kind of mentored me through it. And I just started reading and studying, taking classes and whatnot. And they say, so I just read one of the questions, and I'll answer it and then let Al speak. Someone told me when you plant onions and garlic, it helps deter the squirrels. I don't think anything keeps them out completely, but that's what people say, onions and garlic. If you're an extremist, you can put some ammonia on a towel and put it by your fence. I don't do that, but we do have garlic chives everywhere, and we do plant garlic and onions in the garden.
How do you keep bugs off your greens?
So I went to farm school in at the Jewish Temple on 51st and Dorchester, and there They did clean the leaves every week, though. You do have to get the bugs up. But they used to use Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap and, dilute it, and they would wash the leaves every week. Sunday is their work day, and they were beautiful. The leaves were just gorgeous. So,
John has a question for you both. Maybe Al, you'll start the question. What kinds of dreams do you have for the kids who participate? And how do you think their involvement affects how they feel about themselves and the world? What kind of dreams do you have for the kids who
mhm.
participate? And how do you think their involvement affects how they feel about themselves and the world?
Okay, maybe I'll just backtrack and answer the other questions and then just end with this one.
Okay.
I started basically, I wasn't born here. So when I was 7 and in Liberia, I used to go to my grandfather's farm for vacations from the age of 7 to the age of 11. So I always was on the farm around chickens, goats, bees, you name it. So I got kind of disconnected from that when I came here to the States at age 11 and a half, almost 12. So between that time and high school, I kind of became disconnected from growing stuff. But when I got into high school, we had an opportunity in my sophomore year to break ground for the environmental club at Hyde Park to start the environmental space that you see now when you're driving down 63rd Street. So one of the classes that I had actually helped to break ground for that area back in the 80s. But my garden experience dates back to like the 70s, I guess, when I was a kid. So it's always been in my blood, and it's something that I have always been passionate about as far as just being in nature, being at one with animals of all kinds. I've never been, afraid of any type of animal. I don't care how little I was. It was like I was always comfortable around animals. So that's basically how everything started. And, it's, to me, having that connectivity with the natural world, is very important to, our existence, because we have to live in a way that is a duality, because if we don't, then we forget about and don't appreciate the fact that these other living things around us need space and not just humans. So it's important that we live in that duality of existence, both in the natural world and in our technical, uh, technically driven existence. And the next question was, I think, about
Uh,
repelling bugs.
oh, yeah. How do you
So,
keep bugs off your greens? And do you have a problem with squirrels?
so bugs, what I do is there is a combination of Dawn liquid detergent, water, and peppermint that I just mix in a spray bottle. But something another gardener told me, and I've been trying, is that if they're in the soil, then you want to put ash. You want to put wood ash in the soil. Mix
Oh.
wood ash with the soil. And that usually gets the ones that are down there moving, because what happens is it sends a signal to them to put them in the mindset that there's a fire. So once they sense that there's fire, they will move away from that patch of soil that you have once you introduce wood ash to it. So those are the two tricks that I've been using and have been experimenting with, I'm sorry, over the years. As far as squirrels, yes, we do have squirrels, and I echo the suggestion that Paula made about planting a lot. We have a lot of garlic chives. We have a lot of just chives, period. And chives will readily self-propagate. So you want to, if you're having problems with them, just put chives as a border plant all over, basically, and also garlic chives. But something else that I do a lot of is I plant a lot of marigolds. Marigolds are known as the doctors of the garden. So they kind of regulate different types of invasive, species of whether it be bugs or animals. For some reason, the story is that squirrels don't like the scent that marigolds, the aromatics that marigolds put out there. Whether or not that's true, I'm not exactly sure, but I know I just plant a lot of marigolds, and that kind of helps deter them.
And the next question, what kinds of dreams do you have for the kids who participate?
Oh man, that's a really great question. For me, what I've experienced working with the youth is that there is this lost connectivity with where their food source is. And so the first thing that I want to tell them is that you need to become comfortable with the fact that your food should and does come out of the ground. It's not that it's dirty, it's not that it's infected and it has to be sprayed with insecticide or whatever, because a lot of these organic ways of growing things are the most healthy ways of eating. And it's not that, your food has to be bought from a store. It's that you need to have that natural affinity with your food coming out of the ground. And I think that that really goes a long way in helping them to identify with nature. And I think those two things, helping them identify with nature and helping them to realize that their food source is something that is organic, I think that that'll draw them to, being in a synchronicity with nature. And I think that's the biggest thing is that they become comfortable with being in nature. And that is, paramount to, just overall health.
Great, thank you. And Paula, I don't know if either one wants to answer this question. How do you think their involvement, the kids' involvement, affects how they feel about themselves and the world? Al?
I think Paula is talking and it's muted.
Paula? I can't see it. Paula, you may be muted. Okay.
Yeah, I can take it.
Okay.
So I think that I'm sorry, could you say the question again?
Let's see. It is how do you think the kids' involvement affects how they feel about themselves and the world?
Okay, I think that they're involved. I think it's a sense of empowerment because now they can go home or go talk to their friends about something that maybe their friends or their family members were not, familiar with. I think this gives them an opportunity to express some level of independence or self-confidence once they learn all these new things. And I think generally, as far as human nature goes, in my understanding of it, is that if you challenge yourself to learn new things, that bolsters your confidence. And I think a lot of what the young people, suffer through. I know I did when I was that age, is just a lack of confidence. And once you begin to expand your base of knowledge, you also begin to gain in confidence and begin to be able to define better your place in, whether it be your family structure or society overall.
Okay. And we have about three more questions here. So let's take one more. Um, Someone, Dale, says he has an empty lot. how does he start a, how will he start a community garden? How can he start a community garden? And he wants to know, are there resources available for technical assistance?
So sometimes you have to just get started. Sometimes you have to speak to your neighbors. So does Dale want to make a community garden for other people to plant, or does Dale want to plant something for himself or herself only?
He said community garden.
But I'm just saying, does Dale want to create the space? Is Dale also planning to grow?
Mm.
If you're planning to grow something, you should get started with growing. So if the question is, how do I plant? That's another thing. But sometimes, you get started and the people will come, speak to your neighbors. You can make flyers up and put them, leaflet them to the people who live closest to the community garden. There is the Garden Alliance. There's a AUA. I can't think of their names. There are a few garden organizations in town. They can talk to the people at Faith and Place, and they can connect them with some of the, their churches. I will go to some of the gardens that are near, some of the churches or gardens that are near you, and see if anyone is interested. Look in the sky, see where the sun is. Where you get the most sun, that's where you want to plant. And, if you want to grow something for yourself as well as the community, then I would start creating a space to and planting some things, and people will start coming and looking and inquiring. And or you can make plots. You can build the plots or boxes around and use signage, but people will come. Now, if you just want to create the space and not necessarily garden, yeah, we'll contact my neighbors and see if anybody is interested.
He also wants to know, does he need the alderman's consent to start a garden in the neighborhood?
Well, whose property? Is it city property?
He didn't say.
Yeah,
And
It's
I don't
private
know.
property. It's private property. It's a lot I had for years and haven't done anything with it.
Right, and so you want to start, are you going to be growing things also, or you just want to invite the community in?
Well, I would like for it to be a community. There was a daycare center. The lot is on the corner. It was a daycare center, like in a strip mall. And so my idea was to have, the children come over and help and learn about, their foods. And but then the COVID-19 happened. And so
There is a daycare center 2 doors from the garden at Trinity, and the children would come every 2 or 3 weeks and just through the garden, and they touched the plants, and it was very interesting. Well, I think you should start with flowers, because you have to attract the pollinators anyway, and it would be neighborhood beautification. Just take one little strip, get a flat or a couple of packs of seeds, but it would be nice to have some seedlings, and just make 1 row of flowers, and then get a couple packs of flower seeds and plant them near the seedlings. And when you come out and water your plants, people will start saying hello to you and asking you questions. And if you would like some daylilies or some garlic chives,
I would love it.
to donate those to you for your garden space.
Okay.
Hostas, I have some of those kinds of perennial flowers and plants that I would love to donate to help you get started. I'll be in the garden at the church tomorrow night, afternoon, and I'll be there Saturday.
Okay, I made a note of that. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Paula and Al, for sharing your gardens and sharing resources. Our Faith in Place has a garden resource page, and you can feel free to send us emails for any additional information. And the link for the garden resource page is in our chat. If you check, it's faithinplace.org/gardens. And with that, let's see, um, so we also have a Green Team Summit that we have every year. I think this will be our sixth or seventh year. Someone help me out. So we will explore healing through connecting to the land. So registration is free, and click the link in the chat to join. And it's in September. September 14th is the beginning date for 3 days, 14, 15, 16th. So to stay in touch with Faith in Place, we're on all social media platforms, um, or you can email us, or you can just check out more of our free resources on our Faith in Place webpage. It's we just upgraded it, and it looks beautiful. So look at our Facebook page, our website. Take a look. And with that, I would like to thank you all for coming. And so don't forget to email us at info@faithinplace.org. And don't forget to look at our website, scan through it, search through it at Faith in Place. It's faithinplace.org. Thank you all for coming, and you all have a good evening.